I'm proud to introduce a colleague of mine, Jake Anderson. He is the city administrator in Grimes, and prior to Grimes, he was in Van Meter, so he's been around Central Iowa a little bit. I don't know if you've been to Grimes lately, but there is a lot going on over there, and Jake's done an excellent job trying to manage everything that's happening and get the staff in the key places where he needs staff, doing what he can to get caught up and stay ahead of all the activity that's happening in the community. And again, he's doing a great job with that. I do work with Jake quite often. We're involved with several committees around the metro area, including the Metro Managers Committee. But more importantly, Johnston and Grimes has a joint effort for our fire and rescue services. And Jake and I both serve on the fire board for the Johnston Grimes Metropolitan Fire Department. So I do get a chance to work with Jake quite often on that project. But my understanding is Jake was invited to talk about their new sports complex that is happening in Grimes. And another note I had was the Hope District, which I don't know if that's what it's called, Jake, or not. You maybe can explain that. But anyway, I'm privileged to introduce Jake Anderson, City Administrator for Grimes.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Thank you for those kind words, Jim. I'm trying to share my screen here. It says the host is disabled participant screen sharing. I mean, I do have a brief PowerPoint that I'd share with you if we can. I can sure try to do it without the PowerPoint too. I can maybe share what I've got with Jim if it's something that we could forward out and work through individually. I mean, it's a pretty basic PowerPoint presentation, but while we're working on that, maybe just get started a little bit. The Hope District is a 200-acre piece of commercially zoned property that Reza Kargarzadeh acquired from the Bauman family. It's located to the west of 141, north of First Street, where McDonald's is at, and south of Beaverbrook Boulevard. The city been in conversation with Reza now since he's owned the property as to just what exactly the vision for it's going to be. And what we've got worked out is that his development is going to be an entertainment district that he's calling the Hope District. Hope is his daughter's name. We get a lot of folks in town that get confused between the Hope Lutheran Church and Hope Development, but Hope is Reza's daughter, and he's got his development company named after her. Reza has also donated the 50 acres that the Dallas Center Grimes Middle School is being built on. And he owns Engineered Plastic Components, which is headquartered in West Des Moines. They've got plastic injection molding factories around the country and in Mexico that build primarily the plastic parts in the interiors of cars. So he holds contracts with Ford and Chrysler, GM. So that's the source of the money behind the development. But the Hope District, it's planned to feature the Grimesplex, which will be a 50-acre artificial turf, multi-purpose sports venue that we anticipate driving 1.5 million visitors into Grimes every year, mostly players and their families that come with them. And it's that generation of traffic that we think will benefit the entertainment district and, generate hotel stays and sales of food and beverage in the entertainment district. So, with that, there's been some initial success in terms of the development the excitement that it's caused. You know, Hy-Vee, which is currently under construction, anchors the southeast corner of the site. Hy-Vee is building one of their flagship stores. It has gone through some reconfiguration from some of the existing flagship stores in the area, so it'll be a little bit different from the store in Urbandale and the one in Waukee, or the one on Jordan Creek Parkway. But for the most part, that's the size of Hy-Vee store that's getting built there. Hy-Vee's got a few outlots right along the frontage of First Street. Dupaco, which is a financial institution that's more prominent in Eastern Iowa, but they're going to build a location in Grimes. I think what's kind of unique about them, what I understand about their business anyway, is that there won't be tellers in the store. I think it's more automated, and you'd be able to go in and interact with a kiosk of some sort. Next to that, moving out of the corner along First Street and 141, moving west, Culver's has bought an outlot, and that project should be under construction already. Then there's a vacant lot, and then Hy-Vee is also building a fast and fresh and gas station on the corner of what will be First Street and Gateway Drive. That Gateway Drive's already open. We don't have street lights in yet, but it's open. The traffic light is working, and then moving across Gateway, still north of First Street, further to the west now. Green State Credit Union has announced that they're going to build Arby's, and then Reza is proposing a 21,000 square foot retail strip on the far southwest corner of his site. And then there'll be a detention pond and some offices. The sports complex will tie into across the creek, the city's Lions Park. I mean, for the most part, the bulk of the 200-acre site is still conceptually planned out, and but the infrastructure is going in and ought to be complete in 2021, and platting for the sites begun. I think Hope's planning, you know, it's all zoned PUD, and the PUD will allow for some mixed-use residential on the north end of the site as you approach Beaverbrook Boulevard. But for the most part, I think the developer's looking to sell commercial lots that range from you know, an acre up to 32 acres if it's needed. On the Grimesplex itself, the project budget for that is $38 million, and Reza has already announced a partnership with Sporting Iowa, who will lease the soccer fields from him for half the time. And then, I know he's under negotiation with a baseball club as well. He plans to work with Musco Lighting. Musco's a pretty prominent vendor in this industry around the country, but they're an Iowa-based company. You know, I think we were anticipating the entire 200-acre site, you know, to be at least $250 million worth of development work, and so for all that to finance this, just to speak to the specifics of the deal that the city has with Reza for a moment. The city has pledged 15 years worth of TIF payments. Reza will be able to collect 80% of the TIF off of the entire 200-acre site, and up to a max TIF payment of $25 million. Reza has to then donate the sports complex, all 50 acres of the city of Grimes, no later than year 10. And in year 2025, the city park and rec department begins to get some use of the soccer fields for its own, for the city's own uh, recreational needs. So that's pretty much the deal in a nutshell. We've been working with Ray's team on the specifics of the design. I mean, at this point, it's all been pretty conceptual, and it's been about negotiating the business terms of the development agreement. But at the moment, we're working through the details. As we get further into the weeds, we find all kinds of challenges that we've got to work through. But for the most part, Ray's and his team have been really good partners thus far. With that, I mean, I guess I'd take any questions. I don't know, maybe you guys were looking for a much lengthier presentation, but that's what I've got.
So Jake, the orientation sports complex, is that going to be sort of in the center of the 200 acres or skewed off to the side of that, or where will that be located within the complex?
So we're putting it on the far west side of the site, Jim.
Okay.
A little bit like why they put milk and eggs in the back of the grocery store. We want people to have to come through the commercial development to get to the sports complex.
Sure. Understood.
Is
So
the
is along, oh, go ahead, Barb, sorry.
the big building that's being constructed now, what is that?
That's Hy-Vee.
Ivy.
So frontage
What's
along
that?
141, is that going to be, are they going to be lots along 141 or?
There will be, yeah. I think we anticipate there, and we've set the zoning standards such that we anticipate hotels being built along 141.
Oh, okay.
North of Hy-Vee.
Mm-hmm.
What's being built to the east of Quick Star?
East of Quick Star.
Yeah, so if you're going through the car wash, you'd be facing what's being built
Is that
on the
Johnston
far
or?
side. No, it's Grimes.
Well, but we've got two Quick Stars, one on Beaverbrook and the other is off First Street by Menard.
First, yeah, that one, the Menards one.
That is, there should be a couple of different projects happening in that area. There is a standalone Starbucks that's being built, and then there's also a restaurant with a rooftop patio that's being built there too. I think that's the building that's under construction. That's a project that's being done by Kurt Mumm and Mark Hanahan at Cushman and Wakefield.
Okay.
Is in terms of the restaurant, I don't know that the specific tenant has been announced yet.
There were rumors that a Costco was going to go in somewhere out here. Is that just rumor?
To my knowledge, that's rumor. The city of Grimes has not had any conversation with Costco. That would be lovely, though. Just in terms,
When's Culver's going to open?
we anticipate that to be open by this fall. The Hy-Vee too. Hy-Vee anticipates an open date of August of 2021. Just in terms of infrastructure planning, the city of Grimes is really spending a tremendous amount of money on water and wastewater infrastructure. We're attempting to join the WRA for the treatment of wastewater. Currently, our wastewater treatment plant sits right in the middle of some of our residential development. If you're familiar with our heritage development, which is where a lot of, was a Gabus project that really is driving a lot of the activity in Grimes. Our wastewater treatment plant kind of sits right in the middle of all that. And it's been at capacity or approaching capacity the last several years. And the city council doesn't really like the idea of expanding the wastewater treatment plant there. So, the option then is to move it out of town, build a new plant somewhere else, or to connect to the WRA. Either option is just really expensive. And, what we've chosen to do is try to connect to the WRA through Urbandale. So we're building a 5 to 6 foot diameter sewer main, 7 to 8 miles to the west and south through Urbandale. And that's just the connector main itself is a $22 million project. And then there's all the membership fees and paying for flows that go along with being a member of the WRA. Just wrapping up the construction of a new water tower. And we've currently got a reverse osmosis drinking water plant that's under construction. Grimes is one of the few communities here in the Des Moines Metro that is producing and treating its own drinking water yet. We're not connected to the Des Moines Water Works. And again, that's another $30 million project. All of that drives rates and taxes in a direction that the mayor and council aren't always super thrilled with, but it's necessary to keep up with the growing demands of our community. We're doing a lot of irrigating, and we're also not super fond of water conservation. So you got to build capacity for all that. It's expensive.
Jake, I have a question. You have your little old part of downtown Grimes, your little Main Street. I mean, this is obviously going to affect that area greatly. So do you have any plans to, kind of enhance that area for people or not?
Yeah, well, so we've done a couple of things. That's long been a focus of the city's comprehensive plan is what how can we better partner with the property owners in that area to make it an attractive place. In August of 2020, the city council adopted a set of policies related to financial incentives for projects that occur in that area. So if a property owner wants to improve their building, or if somebody wants to build something down there consistent with the character of the neighborhood, the city will participate in that project with the TIF offering. So those projects or those policies are in place, but a lot of it is market driven here. One of the fortunate things about being in central Iowa is that there are things happening. And so the cities take a little more of a passive role in economic development. And much of it's still done by the developers and the private property owners. There are, areas around the country and around the state of Iowa where cities, are actively involved in acquiring property and then developing it themselves. But we're not going that far in that anywhere in town. I will share the PowerPoint presentation with Jim and he can forward it out to you guys. And then I'm always happy to take calls or questions about it if you have any follow-up thoughts. Is there anything else from the group? I mean, I kind of walked through the presentation I had. I'm sorry I wasn't able to share it with you, but I'd be happy to answer anything not related to the Grimesplex project.
Jake, I'm curious, how many residential building permits are you guys issuing a year?
I'm glad you asked. I just got a report this morning from our development services department. In 2020, we issued 163 building permits for new single family homes. In 2016, we issued north of 200. So it's pretty common for us to be in the 150 to 200 range. So this wasn't quite a record year for us. I know I've seen the headline that Waukee had a record year. We fell a little short of that, but still really strong. Overall, the city of Grimes issued permits for tenant improvements, commercial, single-family homes, multifamily homes, and you know, remodel improvements. We issued 1,500 building permits in 2020, and all of those permits were valued at about $150 million altogether. So really strong growth.
I have a question. I mean, I know Johnston is always working at putting parks in places where residential areas are. Is Grimes working on putting parks in the same way? I mean, where residences are and people can access a park?
Yeah, so historically, we probably don't have as good of a track record as Johnston does on that. I know that a lot of the development deals that Gene Gavis negotiated with the city of Grimes came with cash contributions instead of parkland dedication. And I think looking back on it, that's probably a mistake. I think taking the green space is pretty important for quality of life amenities. The mayor and council today are really dialed into that, and making investments in our parks has been a top priority for us as staff as we developed capital improvement plans at the direction of the mayor and council. So I would anticipate that we'll do a better job of that in the future.
Affordable housing and subsidized housing, any of that in any of your plans for low income families?
Multifamily projects are not generally met in Grimes with a lot of enthusiasm. You know, where the zoning allows it though, I mean, I think that we do what we can at the staff level to work with the developers to make sure that quality projects are built. But the city doesn't have any plans to facilitate any more subsidized housing.
Hope may have a question.
I do. Thank you very much, Jim. Jake, hi. This is an off the wall question, but it's just something I'd like to know about how the history of the community. How many cemeteries are there in Grimes?
Well, one that the city owns and operates, and then I believe there's a township within the city limits of Grimes on the Dallas County side of our community. Okay. So 2, to answer your question directly.
Good. All right. Thank you.
Like we have any more questions, I want to thank you, Jake, for joining us. It was very informative, and obviously, since our communities are so closely tied together, it's interesting and helpful to know what's going on your side of the fence. So I appreciate the time, and thanks for joining us this afternoon.
I appreciate the invitation. I'll send you that PowerPoint.
And I'll make sure it gets out to the group.